What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Yes, we are still without video today. It'll only be for a couple more days. We'll be back to video. But this audio news break covers a lot of stuff because there's a lot of stuff going on in pro wrestling over the weekend. It was a huge weekend with NXT TakeOver, SummerSlam, of course, CM Punk returning at AEW Dynamite on Friday. A lot of stuff going on in the wrestling world. So we're going to start off with NXT TakeOver from Sunday, which is probably the last, well, it definitely is going to be the last version of this type of NXT TakeOver you're going to see. Might be the last TakeOver ever for all we know. The report is after an interview that we saw this past weekend with Nick Khan, who's the president and chief financial blah, blah, blah of WWE corporate, that NXT over the next couple of weeks will be undergoing drastic changes, which kind of confirms the reports and the rumors that have been going around for the last week or so. So this being the last takeover, it wasn't the best. It was an okay. It's for takeover standards, it was okay. And I'll talk a little bit about this a little bit later on, probably. But the show, I would suggest you watching it just for probably the historical significance of it. The fact that it's going to be might be the last ever takeover, and it might be the last time you see an NXT takeover like this, focused on in-ring. Lord knows what's going to be focused on in the future, but we'll get there. The big highlight of that show was Dragunov and Walter's rematch, the second version of it. It was brutal as the first one. I like it a little bit better than the first one. Dragunov gets the win by choking out Walter. Let me repeat that. He choked out Walter. That's huge. Absolutely huge. And put his foot on him and held up the NXT UK Championship over top of Walter. That was crazy. I did not expect that to be the finish of it. The other significant thing on this card is, well, there's two more. Samoa Joe defeating Karrion Kross, who I don't know what they're doing with Karrion Kross, man. I guess this is supposed to be his ascent up to the main roster, but he is going in with a lot. He's going up to the main roster full time with a lot of momentum lost. And this, usually these wins are kind of a celebration. You're like, okay, we know the guy's going up to the main roster, but no. But the historic thing is that Samoa Joe is a 3-time NXT champion, the first ever 3-time NXT champion, which is pretty damn awesome. So congratulations to Joe for that. Probably what more of the scuttlebutt is about, however, is the match with Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole. 3 levels of hell kind of match. Same thing Austin and Triple H had several years ago. Adam Cole lost the match in quite dubious fashion to Kyle O'Reilly once the cage was up there. It was dramatic the way they did it, but Adam Cole losing and all the rumors about his contract status and the fact that he's working without it, really kind of not working without a contract in WWE, and the extension was up after SummerSlam. Kind of see the writing on the wall. This is probably the end of Adam Cole and WWE. Now, the surprise could come. The reports were still that he hadn't signed a new contract with WWE as of Sunday night. So I would say that there's still a possibility of him being in WWE still, but now we look over at a lot of the social media from the Elite, and even today Kenny Omega is posting out a pic of when they kayfabe killed off Adam Cole and being the Elite several years ago. And I think we're probably going to see Adam Cole. It may be Adam Cole bye-bye to NXT and WWE, but it may be Adam Cole bye-bye in AEW. There's a lot of people going to AEW now. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, that's the way things happen a lot of the time. Other news about fans being outraged. Fans are outraged about a couple things coming out of SummerSlam. One of the things, well, outraged about a lot of stuff last week. A lot of fans were outraged from SummerSlam because of the Bianca Belair thing. The rumor is that Becky Lynch is going to become a heel. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And if that's an excuse for the way that they had her, quote unquote, B word, bury Bianca Belair in 25 seconds at SummerSlam, bad excuse. You should have had her do something heelish in order to signify that. I just don't think it's a good idea to turn Becky Lynch heel anyway. Let her ride she's been gone for a year. People love her. Let her ride a while of being a face and being a top women's face and get that Becky Lynch match, which they want to do for Survivor Series, and then go from there, leading into WrestleMania if you're going to turn her heel. I don't think sacrificing Bianca Belair's momentum was worth it, but fans are outraged about that. Fans are also outraged about CM Punk's comments from this past week on Dynamite, him making a distinction between pro wrestling and sports entertainment, a distinction that I've been making and a couple other people have been making a very, very long time, that what WWE does is not pro wrestling. Vince McMahon said back in the 80s, if you just Google Vince McMahon, sports entertainment or pro wrestling or whatever, there is a video from a very, very long time ago, right at the beginning of the rock and wrestling era, where Vince McMahon made the distinction that what WWF, WWE now does is not pro wrestling, as he says it, it's sports entertainment. So it's a different thing. He made the distinction. And at the time, there wasn't one. Pro wrestling was pro wrestling around the world and the territories. Vince decided he wanted to do something different. The distinction is not from me. It's not from CM Punk. Vince McMahon created the distinction. WWE fans who only watch WWE, what you're watching is not pro wrestling. It's sports entertainment as defined by the guy that made the company and made the genre himself. The rest of us are just acknowledging that distinction, that yes, what you do in WWE, it's not pro wrestling. Now, AEW is not 100% pro wrestling either. AEW has a lot of sports entertainment elements in it. It's kind of a hodgepodge of the two. But, WWE is not the only one. Lucha Underground was definitely sports entertainment. Lucha Underground was not pro wrestling. That was sports entertainment all day long. So, it's not just one thing, or one group or one company doing it. And I don't know why the WWE fans, I shouldn't say fans, the sweaties. Or the sweaties that get upset about this stuff, it just continually proves their own ignorance. It's like they're angry at probably people like myself and other YouTubers and podcasters and bloggers and tweeters who have been making this distinction. They're mad at CM Punk for making a distinction. He's throwing shade at WWE. No, he's not. He's saying he left the pro wrestling world and went into the sports entertainment world. And now he's coming back to the pro wrestling world. That's it. It's a distinct. That's all the distinction is. If you're a WWE sweaty who's really angry about that, you need to check yourself, because your guy, your God, the guy that you bow to every time he comes out to the ring, he's the one that made it. But that's a hallmark of the sweaties, is that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know. They just get upset about stuff anyway. Let's move on back to pro wrestling and go to New Japan Pro Wrestling, which I have not, with all this craziness going on over here in North America, I have not talked about some of the craziness going on over in New Japan, as they're getting ready for the next double shot of Grand Slam shows. And if you didn't hear, Kota Ibushi returned last week. Well, he didn't quite return. Hiroshi Tanahashi challenged Kota Ibushi, who apparently is feeling better now. His illness is over with. And they will be fighting each other for the recently won IWGP United States Championship at the Wrestle Grand Slam 2-day event, which is a storyline that's been lingering for a while, because Ibushi, if you remember, the Golden Aces, he said that he would not team with Tanahashi until Tanahashi got better, essentially. He surpassed his God and has gone on to become God, but now he's a challenger again against Tanahashi. I'm expecting, depending on how far they're going to take this might be a very dramatic match between the two of them. Depends on how they work it. Another dramatic thing that happened is Roppongi 3K broke up. That's right. Show has turned on Yo, and the tag team that a lot of people liked, is one of the few actual solid tag teams in New Japan, has broken up. But you could kind of see this coming, because over the last, I guess since Yo came back, he and Show have not really been doing the, coordinated outfits. They've really distinguished each other from each other. They have different entrance music, different attire, different personalities. Even when they were re-teaming for a brief period of time as Roppongi 3K, they really didn't seem like a meshing tag team anymore. They seemed like two singles wrestlers, which is the point. So that's coming up pretty soon. I'm not sure when the match is. I don't think it's going to be a Wrestle Grand Slam. It might be. It might be some other time. But the two of them now separating and Show basically being the heel on this was surprising to a lot of people. But it's a good way to mix it up. I think Show needs to kind of do this and step out on his own. He kind of took a backseat to Yo for a while when Yo came back and got all the press because he came back after that long time off for an injury and his challenges for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. But yeah, that's a feud that I'm actually looking forward to. Hopefully it doesn't go on too long, but those two should have a dynamic match. So we will talk more about this as the week goes on, as we head towards the Wrestle Grand Slam shows coming up. But there's a lot going on in the world of wrestling. I thank you guys for checking out what I have to say about it. I want to know what you guys think about some of this stuff. What do you think about the fans being upset about Bianca Belair and the whole thing with Becky Lynch? Becky Lynch possibly being a heel. Fans being upset about the distinction between pro wrestling and sports entertainment. Is Adam Cole heading to AEW along with everybody else in the grandmother? And what do you think about the return of Kota Ibushi and a split of Roppongi 3K over in New Japan? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys for more news, rumors, and reviews here on the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.